every company now feels this peer pressure to do something with AI, good or bad, right or wrong, just something with AI.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode. Reggie and Vitaly here. Today we kind of just wanted to chat through AI. I mean, if you've been following a little bit of what we do with Vista Social, we do have some AI built into our social media management tool. And we kind of wanted to talk through the future of social media management, marketing in general, how we feel that AI has, I guess, maybe currently impacted it and what we kind of see it being as the future of that. So Vitaly.
When ChatGPT came upon all of us last year, it was so amazing. And I think we jumped in right away, implementing some very key features around users are now able to generate captions in their posts. They're able to generate ideas and really just ask ChatGPT, hey, give me some ideas on a certain topic for a certain audience. We have features around being able to generate a response to your comments right away, like you got a comment and just quickly generate it. So we did all that. And then we are now in sort of a bit of a holding pattern because now we're trying to see, first of all, the adoption. We want to see feedback. We want to see any sort of misfires. It is AI after all, right? There is no guarantees. It's a machine. So, we weren't sure how much quality we're going to get from people like just using it and, opposed to generating perhaps not to the right quality. People are generally happy. We see great adoption. There are a lot of asks these days around, hey, how about AI to generate images or videos, or how about AI to do it all for me even, right? So we have a lot of asks, and certainly AI has been, the OpenAI, the ChatGPT project has been building out what's called models, which means that whatever new model, it's sort of more and more up to date. It's more and more, so AI works by learning, so it learns more, I guess, and then as a result, it can do more. The first versions were focused on data prior to, I think, like 2022 or something. So it was like old, now it's pretty much up to date as the recent news. So you could ask it, hey, like Taylor Swift, the Chiefs game, and you'll get an answer before it'd be like Taylor Swift, Chiefs, I know nothing about that. But yeah, certainly we see a lot of AI and a lot of asks.
Yeah, and like it's funny you mentioned because in customer success, we've been getting a lot of questions and they're kind of all over the spectrum, right? Like you said, I've gotten some users who have asked us, hey, I want an AI to do all of my socials, meaning I tell them, hey, this is my brand, go do it. So the expectation is it's going to create graphics and illustrations. It's going to run your posts. It's going to schedule them at the right time. It'll analyze the performance and then maybe go back. So like an all-in thing. And maybe AI is not quite there yet, but I would say that with ChatGPTs the models that are getting better, they're learning. And even some of the custom GPTs that they have now where you can give it very specific prompts to help users achieve a specific thing. We're getting there.
Right.
So I know that one of the things that we're looking to do is tie into these custom GPTs, and maybe this is going too far behind the scenes. What do we want to talk about there? Do you want to enlighten some users on what we're trying to do?
Yeah, well, right. So I think this notion that, hey, generating captions and responses to comments is great, but how about the next step where it just all kind of happens for me? I guess based on what I'm seeing, AI is not quite there yet, even at the content level. I'll give you an example. So we've recently posted a job on one of the job sites, and we've gotten a lot of responses. I don't have an English degree, and frankly, English is a second language to me. So I'm a techie, but I can easily spot AI generated pitches from people wanting to apply for the position. It's just so obvious, and it's really obvious. Not because there is something about their English or about the way it's phrased, but it's this utter elaborate nature right off the pitch. Like it's what they say. It's so point being that it's very easy to tell. At least I can tell. And if I can tell, chances are many other folks out there could tell that it's AI. And frankly speaking, my impression, like not that I get offended, it's a heavy word, but I certainly don't like it. Like I don't like when somebody is asking me questions or pitching me or proposing something, and they're kind of doing it as an AI as if they didn't bother to spend the necessary time to design it. So I think that is, to me, the risk in having AI do more for you, unless AI becomes that much more human, which I should say is a total possibility. Given how fast these guys are going, it is a total possibility. They blew me. Like, I didn't think that what AI does today was possible, but clearly it is. So they proved me wrong on this, and it's quite likely that they're going to prove me wrong, and the next AI is just going to like take over the world and do everything, and I would not be able to tell who am I talking to in a candidate. Am I talking to AI? Am I talking to the person? So I have some reservations. Let's just say that about the ability to kind of be 100% AI when it comes to generating marketing content.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned just the tone, maybe, right? You're talking and you can kind of recognize that, hey, this is really elaborate. And I've even picked up that sometimes when you're trying to get it to write about certain topics, they reuse certain terms very often. So many, like, let's say marketing copies that I've tried to have ChatGPT create, it's like game changer, next level. The reuse of terms like this, I think, helps me to spot this. But then I think we've got some brands out there who have really identified the importance of crafting a really good prompt to help you to generate a unique tone that's related to your brand, it's relevant to your brand. And I think behind that, there's a little bit of a concern around, hey, data ownership, copyrights, privacy. If I'm feeding all this into an open AI model, it's learning, isn't it going to be able to use these proprietary things with other people, right? So,
and I think we should explain maybe to those who don't quite know the differences here. So one difference is that the OpenAI with the ChatGPT, they give you their models and essentially their body of knowledge, right? That you can use to generate, whatever answers you need. They certainly offer also a way to take your body of knowledge. So for example, let's say your system that manages the support tickets for your company, right? They can take all that and they'll build the model, and based on that, you can now begin to generate responses quite remarkably. It will be very, very awesome, right? But as Reggie's pointing out, is that who owns that model in the end, right? So will it be in the ChatGPT space, and how much can you really afford? Like if you have patient data, quite clearly you can't feed that into an AI model that you don't own. Or if it's customer data, how comfortable are you? And how much disclaimers will you have to do to feed that into? But that's kind of the two ways of utilizing the AI today. One being the broad multi-purpose models that OpenAI is creating, and then the other one is something that you can kind of create. But obviously, like when you first use it, it just blows socks off of you. I mean, it's just fantastical as to what it can do. But perhaps some of the cautionary notes in our conversation today comes from, hey, perhaps overusing it could trigger some unwanted feelings on the other side of the message. And perhaps there are smaller tasks today that it could be really good about, and nobody would be any wiser. Like, hey, you've generated some captions, or you needed some other brainstorm, or you need some ideas for things, and then you created that content based on that. I think that today is a decision that companies are facing as to how to implement it. But I also think in some fairness, I think it's really being somehow, maybe there's too much hype around AI to the point where every company now feels this peer pressure to do something with AI, good or bad, right or wrong, let's do something with AI. I would say we should all sit back and just sort of just try to even understand, the end game here and what is it that we're going to do differently. To me, saving a few hours on generating a caption is probably not an overly significant benefit to like a major company, but it is certainly remarkable. As I talk about things that perhaps are almost sound like critiquing AI, I should point out that I am blown away by what it does, just broadly speaking. The puzzles it can solve, or the answers, it could play chess, it could code, like it can do a lot of stuff. But I guess for us, we're looking for ways to help marketers use it, right? And that's kind of the very specific nature of sort of our perspective.
And I think in general, what I've seen a lot in the space, right? If I look at social, look at Twitter, look at on LinkedIn, a lot of the social media marketers have really taken the stance of AI is great to assist you and get maybe a draft or get some creative juices flowing. But there is a huge caution sign on do not use this as your copy permanently as the final version, right? Feel free to use it and make tweaks, right? And adapt it to be more of your voice. it's definitely going to kind of maybe get you to the starting blocks.
So,
But I would definitely warn, at least from what I've been seeing, and maybe even from the feedback that you're saying, Vitaly, if people can tell, let's use it maybe as a time-saving efficiency tool where it can maybe help you to get to the draft of a copy for your social captions,
right.
a draft of a response, because ultimately it is based on a huge breadth of knowledge. It's not going to be specific knowledge of your brand. It's not going to know the ins and outs, so you want to be careful with that. I do want to talk a little bit about what we're also kind of going towards within Vista Social too, is exploring just analytics. It's been pretty cool to be able to feed the ChatGPT a spreadsheet of data. Hey, here's my last 150 posts on social with their performance stats, maybe the type of post it was, if it was video or not. Make me recommendations, right? So how cool has that been?
There are a number of projects that we have happening where we are testing the waters with AI to do the analytics, to do the image generation, to do compliance checks, to, just sort of applying it in places, running these proof of concepts, understanding the impact, discussing the results with users. So I think the sky is the limit on one hand, right? On the other side, I do feel sometimes, not every time, but again, AI and ChatGPT blows me away, full disclaimer. It does, though, kind of have certain cryptocurrency vibe to it, this whole open AI stuff that's happening. So cryptocurrency certainly was blowing up a few years ago, still amazingly hot market subject, a lot of technologies involved. But if you were reading news 5 years ago, it would feel to you as though cryptocurrency will totally replace our currency. It was a complete no-brainer. It was just, Bitcoin was just going into just sky-high pricing. Everybody felt stupid for not owning it. Like, there was all sorts of peer pressure and all sorts of feelings that, hey, the blockchain technology behind crypto is going to take over the world. And none of that materialized. As a matter of fact, all we see is nothing but reactionary forces now taking over. Government regulation is intervening. So I have friends who own currency, and you can't even buy it without giving out your passport. Today, I can much more anonymously transfer using the bank account that I can using crypto. So in any case, I apologize if I'm, maybe coming across. I'm not a crypto expert. I'm not an AI expert. I'm just an outsider, just observing. But to me, as I see the hype around the AI, and now absolutely everybody talks AI. I now hear congressional hearings on AI. I hear every company has AI on their front page. I feel that this could be, and my prediction could be totally wrong. That's the risks of saying it out loud and on the podcast. That's going to be seen by people. We've done what we see today are the best uses and the safe uses of AI within the marketing space, which is generate some content, generate some ideas. We try to caution people to apply reason, right, when utilizing AI. And yet another question, and I'm not sure if you have that on your list or not, is the issue of penalties. So there is a lot of chatter around how will Google, let's say, look at web content that's AI generated. In our conversation with the SEO expert, everybody's convinced that all sorts of penalties are going to get applied to sites that are using AI to generate themselves, to generate content. If I'm reading that correctly, and again, nobody knows really, but it would make sense, right? So Google is very much about quality content too. So if they see a lot of website content, it's because, with AI, all of a sudden you can generate endless articles. Like this whole content, SEO strategy becomes a complete wash because anybody can just generate 1 million articles in a day, right? So I'm pretty sure that Google will try to combat one way or another. Don't know when or how, but it kind of makes sense. And listen, similar things could be happening to your social profiles. And today, one of the worst things that could happen to a profile is what's referred to as a shadow banning. And for those of you who are not familiar, this is when your account is not banned physically, but it's kind of banned de facto. It's banned because the system is mistreating it. It doesn't show the post. It's kind of considering to be the evil actor here. You have no way of controlling that. And they're doing this because they're also probably AI algorithms are catching you doing things that they don't like. So again, I would say certainly go in and use it. Certainly enjoy it. It's also fun to use AI. to see its capabilities. But I think a healthy mix of AI and normal, regular content is certainly the recommended recipe that I think we would give to our users.
Yeah, and when we think about social, at its foundation, it's about connecting people, right? And connections, relationships have to, at its base, be around genuine conversations, genuine interactions. And I have seen some notes around YouTube now requiring people to, or at least it's going to come up in an update, to add a certain tag when a post is either using a caption or a video or some sort of graphics that have to do with AI, right, or something like that. So we might be seeing more networks make requirements. And then, like you said, maybe their algorithms are going to now start penalizing you and showing your content less.
I heard about that too. I think I even saw something, if not a presidential executive action or something that's getting through Congress or something, where they are looking to implement requirements on content to be marked clearly AI generated. And I guess the post on our users' social media is not what these men and women of our government are concerned about. I think they are more concerned about much larger deepfakes and other ways AI could be completely disastrous.
Yeah.
So if I'm watching something, they're basically saying, "Hey, everything got to get marked." But if that's what's going to happen to some content, I'm pretty sure it's going to just trickle down, perhaps to some extent similar to what today. If you are promoting something, you have to kind of like mark that stuff as an ad. Otherwise, all sorts of penalties could come in from content platforms. So again, not that it's gonna, I don't think anybody gonna like retroactively say, hey, go back and like, mark your content as AI. I can't imagine. Like, listen, today, if you go on Facebook today, try to scroll and find your message from 2 years ago. I mean, it'll like be a very difficult process. I mean, you're gonna scroll and scroll, and it's gonna become slower and slower and slower. And that feed is just progressively become slower, almost to deter you from doing it. And yes, they've given you your download option, but going back is very difficult. So I can imagine that they're going to like require you to do that. It is a factor. Again, I want to bring it back to the crypto analogies, right? Hey, there was a crypto once upon a time, and then government got involved, and all sorts of things have started to happen. I don't know. Could be an analogy that's not rooted in anything, but I have my doubts sometimes when I see things like that.
So in essence, don't make your entire business model revolve around absolute use from start to finish of AI, because you don't know what's coming.
Exercise caution. I think caution is key. I also want to point out that you and I are of a certain generation, and we have a certain perspective. And when I talk about that, I don't enjoy AI when I'm being sent an AI message pretending to be personal message. I take, if not an offense to it, but at least I don't enjoy it. And it certainly creates a bad impression as far as I'm concerned. But I'm just a representative of a certain age group and the demographic. There is a broader demographic. I have my kids that I always bring into these conversations, probably have a different perspective on this, right? They may not care because, as I've alluded to previously, oftentimes they don't read full sentences. Like, I've gotten a letter and I'm going to read it. They got a letter. They're going to read it every 10th sentence and they're going to understand what this is about. So the actual content perhaps won't matter to them. But certainly being cautious and, again, not going extreme with it is what appears to us in our very humble, very subjective view of the world. I would also just say it again. ChatGPT blows me away. It's a completely remarkable tool for many, many reasons.
Yeah, if you're listening and you haven't checked it out yet, ChatGPT has a free account. You can sign up for it to use, I guess, Model 3.5 that they use. And I think there's a subscription now, $20 a month, more or less, if you're in the US for the version 4, which I think from when they launched version 4, they talked about how it surpassed a lot of doctors on taking the MCATs, right? The standardized test to become a doctor, and even the bar for attorneys. So there's significant improvements in that regard. So check it out if you haven't just yet. Any final notes there you want to add with that?
No, I think, again, we will continue to be, if I may use the word, the pioneers of applying AI in the marketing space. You will certainly not see us shy away from implementing features with AI. But I guess part of this conversation, we really wanted to share some of the thought process that we have based on what we see, both technically as well as legally, as well as just in the space of governments and putting all that together. And so we kind of have to anticipate too, and that is kind of our perspective on things as a result.
And if you're in marketing and you're listening, you found a really awesome workflow to really help you with your efficiencies and you're seeing great results, feel free to share those with us. We'll have our socials on the show notes. So you let us know. We're happy to feature that and talk through it in an upcoming episode too.
Yeah, and I think we are on the lookout as well, talking to customers. So as soon as we find a customer who is willing to come and talk to and share their uses of AI, we'll certainly do that as well.
All right. Well, thanks everybody once again. If there are any other topics you want us to cover, you know where to find our socials in the show notes, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.